The Christian world was left stunned after Frances Swaggart's latest bombshell sent shockwaves through Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. In a conversation that was never meant to go public, Frances was heard disowning her own son Donnie Swaggart and blaming him for the complete destruction of Jimmy Swaggart's legacy. Her words were ice-cold and heavy, not coated in motherly affection, but in pure disgust. Frances Swaggart, the woman who once defended the ministry with her life, now pointed the finger straight at Donnie for squandering everything that had been built over decades. Frances reportedly screamed that her daughter had made her own mistakes, but it was Donnie who had destroyed everything. She made it clear that whatever happened with her daughter was her own choice, but the ministry collapsing under Donnie's leadership was the ultimate betrayal. Insiders said Frances has been boiling with anger for months, watching Donnie mismanage not just the spiritual legacy of Jimmy Swaggart, but also misusing the donation money coming in from loyal followers across the globe. For years, Jimmy and Frances had built a massive empire with churches, television stations, media outlets, and international reach. Followers gave generously, believing they were contributing to God's work. But after Jimmy's health declined, Donnie quickly moved into a position of power, allegedly creating secret channels for donations, launching projects that never materialized, and enjoying a life of luxury at the expense of the faithful donors. The money trail revealed high-end cars, luxury vacations, brand new homes, and multiple renovation projects at Donnie's private residence. While the church fell into financial difficulties, Donnie lived like a king, and Frances had finally had enough. Those close to her claimed that she felt Jimmy's death was the final straw, and she refused to allow her son to turn the once respected ministry into a family scam. Frances was quoted saying she never touched a penny from these modern donation drives. She said people could come and investigate her accounts and they would find nothing but clean records. Meanwhile, every questionable transaction led back to Donnie's circle. A former employee who worked in JSM's accounting department revealed that Frances had always asked for transparency. But after Donnie took control, she was pushed aside, and shady dealings began increasing rapidly. This former employee explained that multiple donation drives had been held with dramatic promises, buildings for the homeless, new churches in Africa, disaster relief funds, but none of those promises were ever fulfilled. They confirmed Frances privately fought to get explanations, but Donnie's team would silence her. Meetings were held without her, decisions made without her input, and millions of dollars vanished without a trace. It wasn't just the money. Frances noticed how Donnie started shifting the entire focus of the ministry. What was once a preaching ministry became a business empire, selling merchandise, aggressively pushing for donations with manipulative tactics, and reducing the ministry's actual outreach programs. Frances's fury grew, but Donnie, surrounded by loyalists who enjoyed the perks of his spending, kept tightening his grip on power. In the viral clip, Frances can be heard exploding, saying she built the ministry with her husband, she sacrificed her life for God's work, but Donnie had used it all for personal gain. Her voice was shaking but angry as she declared she would rather burn everything to the ground than allow Donnie to make a mockery of their life's work. The reaction from the followers was instant. Thousands of church members who had loyally donated for years started demanding answers. Donors asked where their money had gone, why their offerings didn't show up in the community, why the promises of global missions were never fulfilled. For years, criticism of the Swaggart family had been labeled as gossip and jealousy, but Frances's own words had now turned the tide. Facebook groups supporting JSM went from praise to full-blown revolt. YouTube channels began uploading expose videos, with old-time supporters coming forward to share their suspicions and experiences. One long-time supporter said they had given thousands of dollars believing it was going to help the ministry grow, but seeing Frances turn on Donnie was the confirmation they needed to realize their faith was abused. Inside JSM headquarters, panic had set in. Staff members were reportedly walking on eggshells, fearing for their jobs as Frances began digging deeper into the ministry accounts. Sources inside the ministry revealed that Frances was planning to bring in auditors from outside the family to review years of financial records, determine where every dollar went, and publish those findings to the congregation. Donnie Swaggart, however, was not going to back down easily. He has been described by insiders as becoming increasingly paranoid, avoiding direct confrontation with Frances, and threatening to fire anyone suspected of leaking information to her. Donnie's loyal followers within JSM started a quiet campaign to discredit Frances, accusing her of being bitter and resentful after Jimmy's death. But Frances was reportedly one step ahead. She allegedly began compiling evidence, speaking to ex-employees, and planning a televised statement where she would expose every dark secret the family had hidden for decades. People close to Frances said she had decided she would rather lose everything than watch the ministry become a total fraud under her own son. The church has already been suffering financially after Jimmy's passing. Attendance has dropped, donation calls have become desperate, and international viewership is declining. Frances believes that unless immediate action is taken, JSM will not survive the next 5 years, and if it does, it would no longer be a ministry, but a money-making machine controlled by Donnie. Frances's declaration divided the remaining followers. A section of old believers sided with her, remembering the early days of the ministry when Jimmy and Frances preached with sincerity. They believed Frances was the only one left who could restore honesty. Others, mostly loyal to Donnie, blamed Frances for stirring up drama during a sensitive period. Regardless of sides, everyone agreed the Swaggart family was at war. Privately, Frances told close friends that Donnie had become a symbol of everything wrong with modern-day televangelism. She believed he represented the decay of moral standards, the greed that infected church leadership, and the arrogance of inherited ministry power. She confessed that if Donnie loved his father, he would have honored the ministry, not turned it into a personal ATM. It was also revealed that Frances was preparing legal action to regain access to the board of directors, and possibly have Donnie suspended pending investigation. Her team of legal advisors were reportedly reviewing financial misappropriation charges, meaning Donnie could even face lawsuits from Frances herself. Meanwhile, Donnie tried to control the damage by preaching about forgiveness and moving forward, subtly calling his mother's comments as distractions from God's work, but the audience didn't buy it. Questions about donation spending kept popping up on social media, and calls to the ministry office increased with demands for explanation. An ex-insider shared that the internal operations of JSM had been collapsing ever since Jimmy fell ill. Multiple departments were shutting down, donations were being funneled towards maintaining personal luxuries, and staff were quitting in large numbers. They described JSM as a sinking ship, and said Frances had finally realized it, and was trying to survive before it fully crashed. As this scandal continues to explode, people are calling it the biggest collapse since Jimmy's original scandal decades ago. But this time it's more sinister, because it's happening after his death, with his son accused by his own mother. The fall of the Swaggart dynasty looks inevitable, with Frances set to deliver the final blow against Donnie. Frances, at her age, doesn't care about politics or power anymore, sources claim. She is focused on clearing her own name and protecting what's left of her husband's legacy. She said she was ready to reveal everything, to burn the corrupt leadership down if that's what it took, and to ensure the truth was told before she took her final breath. Her last words in the leaked audio said it all. "I gave my life to God's work. Donnie gave it to himself. And I will not die carrying his sins." What happens next is unpredictable. But one thing is certain. The entire world is now watching every move inside the walls of Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, waiting to see whether Donnie survives or Frances takes him down with her final crusade.